Picture this. You are on a massive road trip. You've been driving for like hours.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right. The highway lines are starting to blur together. Your eyes feel like they have actual weights attached to them, and it is well past midnight.
You're just running on fumes at that point.
Exactly. You pull off the highway at one of those towering blue exit signs because your body is just, actively shutting down.
Yeah, you just need to stop.
All you want, literally all you physically need, is a cheap bed for a few hours of sleep before you get back on the road. And usually the biggest threat in these situations is like a questionable floral carpet or just aggressively bad coffee in the lobby.
Right, maybe a lumpy mattress.
Yeah, exactly. But what happens when that simple, innocent need for rest puts you right in the path of absolute, unavoidable terror?
It's a profoundly vulnerable scenario. And it's one practically all of us have experienced at some point.
Oh, totally.
Because you are trading the controlled safety of your moving vehicle, where you lock the doors and control the environment, for a stationary bare bones room in a place you don't know, surrounded by complete strangers.
And that specific vulnerability is our focus today as we jump into the content. I'll be guiding our narrative, and I'm joined by our resident analyst to break down the psychology of it all.
Glad to be here for this one. It's a really intense topic.
The mission for this deep dive is to really explore the unique, often ignored vulnerabilities of roadside motels.
Yep, things we just take for granted.
Exactly. We are going to examine 3 distinct accounts to understand how, the isolation of the open road, extreme physical exhaustion, and the very architecture of these establishments create just the perfect storm for danger.
To really understand these stories, though, we have to look at roadside motels as what sociologists call liminal spaces.
Liminal spaces, right.
Yeah, they're transitional environments. I mean, nobody lives there. Everyone is just passing through.
It's just a temporary stop.
Exactly. And because of that transient nature, the normal societal rules, the neighborhood watch mentalities, the standard behavioral contracts we rely on for everyday safety, they simply vanish.
Like the Wild West.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It creates this psychological blank slate that is incredibly ripe for exploitation.
Well, our first account illustrates just how fast that blank slate can turn from, mildly annoying to deeply psychologically terrifying.
This is the solo traveler story, right?
Yeah, the most common scenario. We have a solo driver making a long haul from New York down to Tennessee. He thinks he can make it in one shot, but by around 1:0 a.m., exhaustion just hits a critical level.
As it always does.
Right, so he pulls off in Virginia and grabs the cheapest room at a rough 2-story motel. It's the classic kind where every single door faces the dark, open parking lot.
And that architectural detail is crucial here. Motels were originally designed during the post-war automobile boom for extreme convenience. You pull your car right up to your door.
Super convenient.
But that same design completely bypasses modern security. There's no central lobby choke point, no security desk to filter out bad actors.
You're just right there on the street, basically.
Exactly. The barrier between your bed and the unsupervised outside world is just a single pane of glass and a wooden door.
Which is terrifying when you think about it. So he's up on the second floor. The room is super humid. The AC is making this horrible, rattling, mechanical noise. So he just, turns it off.
Probably just wants some quiet.
Right. But in that sudden silence, he starts hearing an argument through the paper-thin walls next door. It sounds like a couple fighting.
Just what you want at 1 a.m.
Yeah. There's a deep, angry male voice and a softer, really nervous female voice. At first, he's just annoyed he won't be able to sleep.
Standard motel nuisance.
Oh, standard nuisance. But as he lies there listening, something starts feeling off. The timing of the argument is, it's almost too perfect.
What do you mean?
There is zero overlap between the voices. The aggressive voice speaks, stops entirely, and then the nervous voice responds. Okay, let's unpack this. Because to me, the moment he realizes what he is actually hearing is like looking at one of those magic eye optical illusions.
Oh, I love those.
Right. You stare at this messy pattern, and suddenly your brain focuses, the hidden 3D image pops out, and once you see the horrifying truth, you can never, ever unsee it. He realizes there is no woman. It is one single man in the room next door, imitating a nervous female voice to have a fake argument with himself.
That cognitive shift is immediate and terrifying. When you think it's a couple fighting, your brain categorizes it as a conventional known situation.
Like, oh, just some people having drama.
Exactly. It's an external conflict between two people. You might find it irritating, but you understand the dynamics of it. But the second that magic eye image clicks and you realize it's one person performing both roles,
it changes everything.
the threat model completely breaks down. You are no longer dealing with a conventional nuisance. You are suddenly proximity bound to someone whose behavior is deeply unpredictable and, honestly, completely detached from reality.
And it escalates incredibly fast. The fake argument next door just stops. Dead silence.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah. Then, a slow knock on the shared wall, right by where the traveler's head is resting.
No way.
A muffled voice says, "I hear you in there." And then he does it again.
That is deeply unsettling.
The traveler cranks the TV volume to drown it out, but then he hears a door open outside. Footsteps on the balcony walkway approaching his room.
He's coming over.
Yes. The traveler peeks through a tiny crack in the blinds, and the man's face is right there, just pressed against the glass, eyes wide open, staring in.
See, this moves from erratic isolation into a severe boundary violation. The man isn't just acting erratically in his own space anymore.
He's bringing it right to the traveler.
Exactly. He is aggressively projecting that erratic behavior onto the traveler, physically testing the barriers of the room.
And it gets even stranger. The guy backs away from the window and starts practicing bizarre character voices right outside the door. He's switching from high-pitched and childish to deep and angry. He's even doing this exaggerated southern accent while just banging on the door.
What did the traveler do?
He calls the front desk, the manager comes up, and the guy immediately sprints back into his own room and refuses to answer.
Cowardly, but smart.
Right, but then the manager casually mentions that the guy has, quote, been staying there for a while. And I have to ask, why does that specific detail make my stomach drop?
Because it shatters the illusion of the motel as a purely transient space. For this man, it's not a stopover. It is his domain.
Oh, that makes sense.
The traveler isn't just passing through a neutral zone anymore. He is stepping onto this unpredictable individual's actual territory. And that territorial advantage completely tilts the power dynamic.
Wow. Well, the manager moves the terrified traveler to a room downstairs right by his car. He locks the door, thinks the ordeal is finally over, and drifts off to sleep. But he wakes up in the dark a few hours later. He looks at his new window, and a shadow moves past the crack in the blinds.
You're kidding.
He creeps over, and it's the same guy. But he's not making voices anymore. He's not banging on the glass. He is just calmly, silently pacing back and forth past the window, staring into the room every single time he passes until the sun comes up.
That is terrifying. Because that shift from erratic, noisy behavior to calm, silent stalking, that is arguably the most dangerous phase.
Why is that worse than the banging?
Initially, the threat was chaotic, right? Undirected. But by the end, the threat is focused entirely on the traveler. It shows a level of fixation. The predator is perfectly comfortable operating in that liminal space, leaving the victim feeling completely exposed, even behind a locked door.
It makes you want to never travel alone again, honestly.
I mean, you'd think a group would be safer.
That's exactly what I've always thought. Safety in numbers, right? If you're with a group, you're a harder target, you have more eyes watching your back. But our second source completely flips that assumption on its head.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sometimes being in a group just means you are loudly broadcasting your vulnerabilities to a coordinated threat.
So we're moving from a solo traveler to a group setting.
Right. A 2022 road trip. A college freshman from Texas State University is traveling back to school from Branson, and it's an all-female family group.
Okay, so a lot of people.
Yeah, the freshman, her 3 sisters, her stepmom, and her grandma. They pull into a random highway motel around 8:00 p.m. They check in, drop their bags, and decide to go grab some pizza.
Sounds pretty normal so far.
Totally normal. But while they're standing in the small lobby, the grandma calls out to ask what the room number is so she can go change. And the sister just casually announces the room number out loud.
Oh no. A completely innocent action in a normal, secure context, but in a transient environment, it is a catastrophic error.
Because standing right there at the entrance is a strange man in a black knitted sweater, just loitering. The freshman narrator, who admits she's generally hyper-aware of everything, points out how weird it is that he's just standing there staring at them.
At least she noticed him.
She did, but the sister completely brushes it off. Here's where it gets really interesting, and I want to push back on this a little. If this freshman is naturally hyper-aware, and her alarm bells are ringing loudly, why does the rest of the family just ignore it? Why does the group consensus win out over individual instinct when the stakes could be so high?
It comes down to a powerful psychological defense mechanism called normalcy bias.
A normalcy bias.
Yeah. When we are tired, especially on a road trip, our brains want to conserve energy. Processing a potential threat takes a massive cognitive toll.
So it's literally exhausting to be paranoid.
Exactly. So the brain actively suppresses anomalous information.
Yeah.
We tell ourselves, oh, he's just waiting for a cab, or he's just another guest.
That makes total sense.
Plus, humans are fiercely social creatures. Evolutionarily speaking, going against the group consensus causes us stress. So the hyper-aware individual might scan for threats, but the group defaults to the easiest, least stressful interpretation of their surroundings. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the danger is that this leads to what security professionals call information leakage.
Information leakage. Wow, that makes sense because they basically handed over their entire playbook to this guy.
Pretty much.
Because when they get back from dinner around 10 or 11 p.m., this same man is sitting in the dark, unlit back corner of the lobby by the TVs.
Still there. Not a good sign.
Not at all. The grandma calls again, and incredibly, the sister shouts the room number out loud a second time.
You've got to be kidding me.
I know, and the narrator notices the man is now whispering to someone on his phone.
He's actively gathering and transmitting intelligence at that point.
Right in front of them.
Exactly. By broadcasting the room number twice, they haven't just leaked their location, they've leaked their group composition. He knows it's a group of women, he knows they're divided into different rooms, and thanks to the phone call, he is sharing that intelligence with outside partners. This is a chillingly methodical threat, which is a stark contrast to the erratic, isolated man in our first story.
Methodical is exactly the right word, because the family goes up to the second floor. They have 2 rooms, but they aren't adjacent. There is 1 empty room directly separating them.
Oh, that's a terrible setup.
Just wait. 20 minutes later, the stepmom bursts into the girls' room, dead serious, and says, "Pack everything right now."
What happened?
She had just opened her door to set some trash in the hallway and found a man standing silently against the wall right beside her door. He didn't flinch, he just stared at her, and then casually walked into that empty middle room separating the family.
That is, just think about the logistics required to execute that. The family occupies 2 rooms with 1 in between. The predators have somehow gained access to the exact strategic choke point dividing the family.
Choke point, right.
Law enforcement calls this predatory staging. It's essentially when someone plays chess with your physical environment, putting themselves on the one square you were forced to walk through.
That's horrifying.
Whether they booked it, had a master key, or just exploited an unlocked door, they intentionally place themselves in a position to intercept or divide the group.
It's a complete nightmare scenario. They scramble to pack, manage to get a refund at the front desk, and sprint to the car. And as they do, the full scope of the trap actually reveals itself.
There were more of them.
Yes, the first guy from the lobby gets out of the elevator. Then they spot a second man systematically moving through the parking lot, cupping his hands to car windows, violently jiggling door handles.
Looking for an easy target.
Right. When he sees the family, he signals toward the motel entrance. A third man appears. Now there are 3 men, slowly advancing on the family's car in the dark.
The 3 of them.
The family finally speeds off at 3 a.m. and ends up sleeping at a roach-infested motel down the road, which the narrator says she gladly accepted over whatever those men were planning.
I would too. That parking lot behavior is highly indicative of pack hunting dynamics.
Pack hunting.
Yeah, checking handles, signaling to each other. They're actively testing defenses, looking for the easiest point of entry. They use the motel's physical layout and the family's leaked information to set a highly coordinated trap.
It's so scary. We've seen how danger can come from the room next door or from, coordinated loiterers in the lobby. But there's a specific kind of terror reserved for an environment that is completely empty.
The empty motel.
Yeah. What happens when the motel itself seems to generate a threat right out of the darkness? This is our third source. It's a couple, the narrator and his girlfriend Julie. They are 11 hours into a brutal 17-hour drive to Florida.
That's a massive drive.
It is. It's past 1:00 a.m. They are desperate. They pull into a completely dead motel parking lot, check in with a sleepy owner, and get room 5, which is a ground-level room in the far corner.
Okay, very isolated.
They get inside, start brushing their teeth, and the narrator realizes he left his USB-C charger in the car. He tells Julie he'll be right back, and as he steps out, he leaves the door cracked open.
Oh no.
He admits it's a subconscious habit so he won't get locked out.
And right there, we see the profound toll of extreme exhaustion on human cognition.
What do you mean?
Well, sleep deprivation severely impairs our executive function. That's the part of the prefrontal cortex responsible for risk assessment. Consciously, he knows it's 1:00 a.m. in an unlit, empty parking lot. But the sleep-deprived brain prioritizes immediate convenience like not getting locked out over basic security protocols. He makes a critical subconscious error.
And that tiny error invites something genuinely terrifying.
Yeah.
He's at his car, rummaging for the charger, and when he turns back, his heart nearly stops. There's a massive man standing right by the cracked door of their room.
Just waiting there.
Not just tall, but a huge frame, wearing a long, ill-fitting trench coat despite the mild weather.
That's a massive red flag.
The narrator jogs over to intercept him, and the man turns around with this incredibly soft, almost whisper-quiet demeanor. He casually asks how the narrator is doing.
Wow.
The narrator deflects and asks, "Are you staying here?" And the man softly replies, "Oh, I'm staying upstairs, just going for a stroll."
See, that soft voice is a calculated camouflage mechanism.
Really? How so?
Just like the trench coat might be used to conceal his true size, or, perhaps weapons, the soft tone is specifically designed to disarm the target. It makes the predator seem less imposing while they actively evaluate the physical vulnerabilities of the situation.
The narrator says goodnight, slips inside, and immediately locks the door. Julie is fast asleep, but he has this awful sinking feeling. He gets down on his hands and knees, crawls over to the window, and delicately moves the curtain just a fraction of an inch to look at the front of their door.
What does he see?
The man is still there, standing perfectly still, staring directly at the door.
Unbelievable.
The narrator says it was like having a staring contest with him, while the man had a staring contest with the door. And he stays there for 10 straight minutes.
10 minutes of just staring.
So what does this all mean? To me, it's less like a lion waiting at a watering hole and more like a malicious bot on the internet scanning a cybersecurity system.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, it just pings 1,000 ports waiting to find one system vulnerability, just one cracked door. The sheer audacity to stand perfectly still for 10 minutes, just staring at a piece of wood,
Yeah.
it's chilling.
What's fascinating here is the absolute patience of the opportunistic predator. He didn't track them into the lot. He was simply scanning the environment, saw an opening a cracked door in the dead of night, and he anchored himself to it. The 10-minute stare is an exercise in psychological dominance and anticipation.
Just waiting for the door to open.
He is waiting to see if the system vulnerability repeats itself if they mess up again.
Well, it gets worse. The narrator finally wakes Julie up. He begs her to look out the window so she'll actually believe him. She crawls over, looks, and says, "He's not there." The narrator tells her to look harder. She gasps and literally runs back to bed. The narrator looks out again, and the man has moved. He is now standing across the dark parking lot, perfectly still, but he is no longer facing the door. He is staring directly at their window.
He knows they're looking.
Exactly. The narrator knows, without a doubt, that the man saw the curtain move. He knows they are watching.
He has adapted to the prey's awareness. He moved out of immediate striking distance to maintain visual control of the broader environment.
So he stepped back to see everything.
Right. He is establishing that he knows they're inside and he knows they're awake. It is pure psychological warfare at that point.
They sit in bed for an hour, clutching a blunt object, just terrified. They eventually pass out from pure exhaustion. The next morning, they pack the car, and the narrator goes to the front desk to return the key.
Did he tell the owner?
He does. He tells the owner about the massive man in the trench coat. And the owner looks completely shocked. She says she doesn't know any man like that. And then she delivers the ultimate twist.
Which is?
She tells him that he and Julie were the only guests at the motel the entire night. And of course, there are no security cameras.
Wow. Which entirely confirms the phantom nature of the threat. The man lied about staying upstairs. He wasn't a guest at all.
He was just some guy.
He was an outside entity, drawn from the darkness specifically by the vulnerability of that cracked door. If the narrator had taken 5 more seconds searching his car for that charger, that man would have been inside the room with the sleeping woman.
It is a terrifying realization, and I think it perfectly encapsulates what we've discovered today in this deep dive.
It really does.
Motels offer a very specific stripped-down transaction. You get a sheet bed and a bathroom. But in exchange, you completely sacrifice the locked corridors, the bright lobbies, and the physical barriers of traditional hotels.
You're out in the open.
You are sleeping with a single door separating you from the dark, unsupervised, open road. So let's bring this right to you, the listener. We want to give you a mental model for your next long road trip, rather than just vaguely telling you to trust your gut.
Right. Actionable advice.
First, when you step into a liminal space, recognize your normalcy bias. If your energy is low and you spot something out of place, like a strange man loitering in a lobby force, your brain to analyze it rather than suppress it. Do not leak your information to anyone who might be listening.
Keep the room numbers quiet.
Second, treat physical exhaustion as a vulnerability multiplier. Your safety protocols must actually increase, not decrease, when your physical energy is at its lowest. Do not let your impaired executive function convince you to leave a door cracked open, not even for 10 seconds.
The convenience and economy of the roadside motel come at the direct cost of your environmental security. When you pull in, you must consciously remember that the rules of safety are entirely in your own hands.
I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over long after this deep dive ends. Think back to the architectural history we discussed. Motels designed for cars to pull right up to the doors, creating massive security flaws. Do these terrifying encounters happen simply because exhausted travelers make careless mistakes?
Good question.
Or is there a dark architectural determinism at play? Is there something about the very layout of a roadside motel with its doors opening directly out into the dark night, completely bypassing a central lobby that acts as a magnet? Is it possible that these structures actively draw in the worst of humanity, bringing predators out of the woodwork to circle the lot, scanning for system vulnerabilities, just waiting to see who might be tired enough to leave their door cracked open? You pull off the highway looking for rest, but you might just be pulling into a trap.